My name is Richard Thompson. I'm 66 years old. And the moment I heard my son Marcus tell his girlfriend how easy it would be to make an old man disappear at sea, I knew I had exactly 7 days to save my life. I was standing in my own hallway, hand frozen on the doorknob, listening to the man I'd raised plan my murder like it was a business transaction. It was Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. I'd left for the Miami cruise port an hour earlier, then realized I'd forgotten my blood pressure medication. When I pulled back into my driveway, Marcus's car was still there. Strange, he'd said he had meetings all day. I let myself in quietly. That's when I heard his voice from the kitchen, sharp and confident. "Don't worry, Vanessa. He just left. He's on his way to the airport right now." A pause. "Yeah, one-way ticket. When he's out there, it'll look like what it is, a tired old man who fell overboard. Nobody questions that at his age." My blood went cold. The life insurance is $150K, plus the house at $320K. After the funeral, we'll have everything we need. Your custody lawyer gets his retainer, my debts disappear, and we start fresh with Emma. I backed out of my house like a thief, got in my car, and drove. My hands shook on the wheel. My son, my only son, had just reduced my life to a math problem. And apparently, I was worth $470,000 dead. 3 days earlier, I'd cried when Marcus showed up at my door with that cruise ticket. A 7-day Caribbean voyage, first-class cabin. "Dad," he'd said, hugging me tighter than he had in years, "you've sacrificed everything for me. It's time someone took care of you." I should have known better. Marcus hadn't called in 3 months, hadn't visited in 6, but I was a fool who wanted to believe his son still loved him. Now I understood. This gift wasn't gratitude. It was premeditation. I drove straight to Frank Harrison's office, a private detective I'd met 6 months ago at a community center. His office was above a dry cleaner, cramped but professional. He looked up from his computer, took one look at my face, and gestured to a chair. "Tell me everything," he said. I did. The cruise ticket, the overheard conversation, my suspicions about Marcus's situation. When I finished, Frank was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Thompson, how much do you know about your son's divorce?" "Just that it happened 6 months ago. His ex-wife Jennifer got custody of their daughter Emma. Marcus has her every other weekend." Frank pulled up documents on his screen. "Your son is paying $4,500 a month in child support and alimony. He's also hired Cameron and Associates to fight for primary custody. Their retainer is $35,000 due by end of month." I felt punched. $35,000? Marcus doesn't have that kind of money. "He also has $75,000 in gambling debts." Frank turned his screen toward me. "Started with office pools and weekend poker, then Atlantic City, online betting. His ex-wife's attorney used it in the custody hearing. That's why he lost Emma." Each word was a knife. My son wasn't just a killer. He was a desperate father who'd gambled away his daughter and saw murder as the solution. "There's more," Frank continued. "His girlfriend, Vanessa Chen, she's a divorce recovery coach, licensed therapist. I pulled her website. She specializes in helping men reclaim their power after divorce. 3 of her former clients have pending assault charges against ex-spouses. You think she's involved? I think she's exactly the kind of person who'd tell a desperate man what he wants to hear." Frank closed his laptop. "Richard, you could go to the police right now, but you overheard a conversation. He bought you a cruise. That's not enough for an arrest. What if I go on the cruise? Gather evidence? That's dangerous. If he's really hired someone, then I'll be ready." I surprised myself with how steady my voice was. "I'll document everything, record our conversations. When I come back, I'll have everything we need." Frank studied me. "You said, 'when I come back,' not 'if.' That's good. That means you're going to fight." He pulled out a contract. "All right. You've got yourself a detective. I'll dig into everything. Marcus's finances, Vanessa's background, the gambling debts, the custody case. But Richard promised me something. What? If it gets too dangerous, you get off that ship. Your life is worth more than revenge. It's not about revenge, I said. It's about my granddaughter. If Marcus goes to prison, Emma loses her father. But if I die, she grows up thinking murder solves problems. I need to stop this the right way. I signed the contract and wrote him a check for $500. That night, I packed my suitcase for real. Navy suits, comfortable shoes, my phone charger, and a small digital recorder I'd bought at Best Buy. As I folded clothes, I thought about the man I'd been 3 days ago. The man who'd cried over his son's generosity. That man was gone. In his place was someone harder. Someone who understood that survival isn't just about living. It's about making sure the people who try to kill you face consequences. Saturday morning, I boarded the Star of the Caribbean. 12 stories of floating luxury that would either save my life or become my grave. My cabin was 847 on the 8th floor. Beautiful king bed, private balcony, ocean view. Marcus had spared no expense on my final accommodations. I stood on that balcony, gripping the railing, looking down at the water far below. Easy. That's what Marcus had said. Easy to make an old man fall. First time on a cruise? I turned. A silver-haired man stood on the neighboring balcony, separated from mine by a small divider. He wore an expensive blue linen shirt and had the bearing of someone used to being in charge. That obvious? I managed a smile. You're holding that railing like you're afraid it'll disappear. He extended his hand across the gap. Carl Anderson, Denver, Colorado. Richard Thompson, Chicago. His grip was firm, his eyes sharp. Something about him felt solid, trustworthy. I made a decision. Carl, can I buy you a drink? I could use someone to talk to. 20 minutes later, we sat in a quiet corner of the upper deck bar. I told him everything. I'd planned to be cautious, but there was something about Carl Anderson that made me trust him. Maybe it was the intelligence in his eyes, or the way he listened without interrupting. When I finished, Carl was quiet. Then he said, My business partner of 20 years embezzled $2 million from our company. He was my college roommate, my kid's godfather. I trusted him completely. What did you do? I gathered evidence. When I had enough, I went to the authorities. He's in prison now, been there 5 years. Carl's eyes were hard. Richard, here's what I learned. If someone you love is trying to hurt you, you have every right to protect yourself, and you don't owe them your silence just because they're family. Marcus is trying to get his daughter back. In his mind, maybe this is justified. Does that make it okay? No, but it makes it complicated. Carl leaned forward. What do you want the outcome to be? I thought about Emma. 8 years old, caught between divorced parents, visiting her father every other weekend. If Marcus went to prison, she'd lose him. But if I died, she'd grow up with a murderer for a father. I want him to face consequences, I said finally. But I also want to protect Emma. She's innocent in all this. Carl pulled out his phone. I'm in cabin 1247. It's a suite with 2 bedrooms. You're not sleeping in 847 for the rest of this cruise. And Richard? We're going to make sure you live to see that granddaughter grow up. That night, I called Marcus from Carl's cabin. Carl had his phone ready to record. Dad, how's the ship? His voice was so normal, so caring. If I didn't know better, I'd believe he actually gave a damn. It's beautiful, Marcus. Really beautiful. Good, good. Listen, Dad, I know this is sudden, but I've been thinking. When you get back, maybe we should talk about your will. I mean, you're getting older, and it would give me peace of mind to know everything's in order. My stomach turned. He couldn't even wait until I was dead to start claiming the inheritance. Marcus, I actually have a question. I checked with the ship's office, And they said I only have a one-way ticket. Do you know anything about that? Silence. 5 seconds. 10. 15. That must be a mistake, Dad. I'll call the travel agency Monday and sort it out. Don't worry, I already handled it. Bought my own return ticket this afternoon. $750, but worth it for peace of mind. You what? His voice had an edge now. Sharp, almost panicked. Dad, you didn't need to do that. I didn't want to be stuck in Miami, son. Right. Of course. He was breathing hard. I could hear Vanessa in the background, asking something. Listen, I need to go. Enjoy the cruise. We'll talk when you get back. He hung up abruptly. Carl set down his phone. He's rattled. You buying that return ticket wasn't part of his plan. Good. Let him wonder. The next morning, Carl and I went to breakfast in the main dining room. That's when I spotted him, a man in his 40s, athletic build, sitting alone 3 tables away. He was reading a newspaper, but his eyes kept flicking toward me. Carl, I said quietly. Don't turn around. 3 tables back, guy in the gray polo. He's watching me. Carl casually dropped his napkin, bent to pick it up, and glanced back. When he straightened, his face was serious. You're right. We need to confirm if he's following you. We finished quickly and headed to the ship's library. Carl walked to the upper deck while I stayed behind, pretending to browse books. 7 minutes later, the man in the gray polo walked in. He didn't look at me directly, but he positioned himself where he could see me clearly. I texted Carl. He's here. Response. Get to my cabin. Now. I took the elevator to the 12th floor. The man didn't follow immediately, but when I glanced back from Carl's doorway, I saw him exit the stairwell 30 feet down the hall. Carl pulled me inside and locked the door. Richard, your son hired someone. That man is surveillance at minimum, threat at maximum. We're going to Captain Peterson. Right now. Captain John Peterson listened to our story without interrupting once. When we finished, he leaned back in his chair. Gentlemen, I've been sailing 25 years. I've dealt with thefts, assaults, medical emergencies. But attempted murder, that's rare, and I take it very seriously. He pulled out a tablet. Here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Thompson, you're officially under ship protection. He handed me a small device that looked like a panic button. Press this anywhere on the ship, and security reaches you in under 2 minutes. Second, we identify this man. I'll have security pull passenger manifests and camera footage. And third? Carl asked. Third, we set a trap. Tomorrow night is the gala dinner. Captain Peterson continued. You'll attend, Mr. Thompson. Be visible. After dinner, you'll appear to return to cabin 847. But actually, you'll come to our security office. We'll have cameras and personnel watching. If this man makes a move, we catch him. That's risky, Carl said. It is, but it's our best chance for solid evidence. The captain looked at me. Mr. Thompson, I won't force you. If you want off this ship at the next port, I'll arrange it. I thought about Marcus, about Emma, about the fact that if I ran now, Marcus would just find another way. I'll do it, I said. Let's catch him. Back in Carl's cabin, my phone buzzed with updates from Frank Harrison. Found Vanessa's client files. Richard, this is worse than we thought. Call me. I dialed immediately. Frank's voice was tight. I got into Vanessa's therapeutic documentation. She's been working on Marcus for 3 months. Listen to these entries. He read them to me. Each one more chilling than the last. Session 8. Client expresses frustration with father figure. Explored concept of toxic inheritance, not just money, but patterns of weakness and failure. Session 12. Client asked if removing toxic people is morally justified. Discussed self-preservation versus family obligation. Client clearly leaning towards self-preservation. Session 15. Client mentioned father's life insurance. I did not suggest anything, but validated his feelings that he deserves financial freedom from those who've held him back. I felt sick. She's a therapist. She's supposed to help people. Richard, she is helping him rationalize murder. This is coaching disguised as therapy, and it's all documented. The prosecution is going to love this. It was worse than I thought. Marcus didn't just want me dead. He'd been given professional permission to want it. The gala dinner was Tuesday night. I spent the day mentally preparing. At 7 p.m., I put on my best Navy suit, the one I'd bought for Marcus's college graduation 20 years ago. Carl appeared in the doorway wearing sharp gray. You ready? No, but let's do it anyway. The ballroom was beautiful. String lights, live band, elegantly dressed passengers dancing and laughing. I spotted the man immediately, tonight in a dark suit, stationed near the bar, watching me. Carl and I made a point of being social. We joined a table of retirees from Minnesota, laughed at the band's jokes, acted like I was having the time of my life. At 10:30, I stood and announced I was tired. These late nights aren't what they used to be. Everyone wished me good night. I walked slowly to the elevator, moving like my knees hurt. From the corner of my eye, I saw the man set down his drink and head for the exit. I took the elevator to the 8th floor. The hallway was empty, except for one security officer dressed as a steward. He gave me a subtle nod. I walked to cabin 847, unlocked the door, slipped inside. The cabin was dark. I moved quickly through the connecting door to the neighboring cabin, now a surveillance post. Captain Peterson, Carl, and 2 security officers watched multiple monitors. He's coming, one officer whispered. On screen, I watched the man approach my cabin. He looked left, right, then pulled out lockpicks. Less than a minute later, he was inside. The hidden camera caught everything. He moved through my room with a flashlight, checking the closet, the bathroom. Then he went to the balcony and examined the railing carefully. He pulled out his phone and took photos. That's enough, Captain Peterson said. Move in. Security burst through the door. The man spun around, startled, but tried to act confused. Wrong room, I must have. You picked the lock, sir. That's not a mistake. The lead officer reached for the man's phone. Identification. Now. Derek Paulson, age 43, Newark, New Jersey. When they searched his pockets, lock picks, latex gloves, and his phone. Captain Peterson scrolled through the messages, his face darkening. He handed me the phone. The messages were from Marcus's number, cabin 847, 8th floor. Balcony has standard railing. Subject is approximately 180 lbs. Should be easy. Gala dinner tomorrow night. He'll be drinking. Wait until after midnight. Make it look accidental. Stumble and fall. $15K on completion. Another $20K once inheritance is settled. $35,000. That's what my life was worth to Marcus. Exactly the amount he needed for his lawyer's retainer. Mr. Paulson, the captain said coldly, you're under arrest for attempted burglary and conspiracy to commit murder. You'll be detained until we reach port tomorrow. After they took Derek away, I sat heavily. Carl's hand found my shoulder, but I couldn't speak. The evidence was overwhelming, damning, undeniable. My son had hired a man to kill me for the price of a custody lawyer. I didn't sleep that night. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Marcus. Carl was already recording. I answered on speaker. Dad. His voice was wrecked, crying. Dad, please, you have to listen. I'm listening. Derek wasn't supposed to, I never told him to actually. Dad, I swear, it was just supposed to look dangerous. To make you think about mortality. To make you want to change your will. Marcus. I read the texts. $15,000 on completion. That's not a scare tactic. Silence. Then sobbing. I needed Emma back. You don't understand what it's like. Every other weekend I watch her leave. I watched Jennifer's new boyfriend pick her up. Some insurance salesman is tucking my daughter into bed at night. So you'd make Emma lose her grandfather, her father, everyone? I thought, if I had money, I could win. I could hire better lawyers. I could show the judge I'm stable. I could be the dad she deserves. By murdering your own father. By removing the obstacle. His voice cracked. That's what Vanessa said. Sometimes we have to remove obstacles to become who we're meant to be. Something in me snapped. Is that what I am to you? An obstacle? The man who worked 60-hour weeks so you could go to Columbia? My voice was ice. Who stayed in a marriage I hated so you'd have a stable home? The man who gave you everything, I'm just an obstacle? You gave me everything, Marcus choked out, except an example of how to be a man who wins. You rolled over for Mom. You rolled over for your job. You rolled over for life. I watched you surrender for 38 years, Dad. I'm not you. I won't lose Emma the way you lost everything. The words hit like bullets. Every sacrifice I'd made, every choice I'd thought was noble. Marcus saw it all as weakness, as failure. You're right, Marcus. You're not me. My voice was steady, now cold. Because I would never murder someone I claimed to love. I hung up. Carl and I sat in silence for a long moment. What do you say? Carl finally whispered. When your son admits he'd rather be a murderer than be like you? I had no answer. A Saturday morning, we docked in Miami. Captain Peterson summoned me to his office where 2 Miami-Dade detectives waited. I gave my statement, handed over all the recordings, watched them take Derek Paulson off the ship in handcuffs. Mr. Thompson, the lead detective said, we're issuing a warrant for Marcus Thompson's arrest today. Do you have somewhere safe? I'm going home to Chicago. We'll notify Chicago PD. And sir, a lot of men in your position wouldn't have had the courage. Frank Harrison met me at O'Hare Airport that afternoon. Richard, you look like hell. I feel like it. I shook his hand. Frank, they're arresting Marcus today. I need you to find out who has Emma. If she's with Marcus when they come for him, I'm on it. Go home. Rest. I'll call you in 2 hours. I took a cab back to my house, the same house where I'd overheard Marcus planning my death. I stood in the hallway for a moment, remembering. Then I went inside, made coffee, and waited. Frank called at 3 p.m. Emma was with her mother. Marcus was arrested at his apartment with Vanessa. They were packing to leave the country. Is Emma okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally? Richard, she doesn't understand. She thinks the police made a mistake. She's asking for her father. I closed my eyes. I need to see her. That might not be. Frank, my granddaughter is about to lose her father. Someone needs to explain this isn't her fault. 2 days later, I sat across from Jennifer at a coffee shop. She was 37, pretty, exhausted. We'd barely spoken since the divorce. Richard, she said carefully, Emma doesn't understand what Marcus did. She just knows her dad is in jail, and you're somehow involved. I know. Jennifer, Marcus wasn't just in debt. He was desperate to get Emma back. In his mind, killing me would solve everything. Pay his debts, fund his custody battle, start fresh. Her face crumpled. Jesus, he really loved her. That's what makes this so insane. He was a terrible husband, but he tried to be a good father. Can I see her? Just once? I need her to know I didn't do this to hurt her. Jennifer was quiet for a long time. She's with my mother right now. I'll ask. But Richard, if she says no, you have to respect that. I will. Emma said yes. Then we met at a park near Jennifer's house. She was small for 8, with Marcus's dark hair and Jennifer's green eyes. She sat on a swing, not swinging. I sat on the swing next to her. Hi, Emma. "Hi, Grandpa Richard." We sat in silence. Finally, she said, "Mom says Daddy did something really bad, that he tried to hurt you." "That's true. But Daddy wouldn't do that. He's my dad. Dads protect people." I thought carefully about how to explain this. "Emma, your dad loves you very much. But sometimes people who love us still make terrible choices. Your dad was in trouble, money trouble. He thought if I wasn't around anymore, that trouble would go away. Because you would die and he would get your money? Kids understand more than we think." "Yes, that's really bad." "It is." She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. "Are you mad at him?" "I'm sad and disappointed. But Emma, I want you to know something important. What your dad did isn't your fault, and it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Will he go to jail for a long time? Probably." She kicked at the wood chips under the swing. "Mom says Daddy loved me so much he did something crazy. But if he loved me, why would he hurt Grandpa? Don't people who love you protect everyone you love?" 8 years old, and she'd already figured out what Marcus never did. "Emma, your dad loved you the only way he knew how. Fiercely, desperately, without thinking about consequences. That's not an excuse, but it means the love was real, even if the choices were wrong. Will you tell him I still love him? When you see him?" "When would I tell him?" She looked at me like I was being dense. "When you visit him, obviously." "Emma, I don't visit your dad." "Why not?" "Because he tried to hurt me." "And you're going to hurt him back by never talking to him again?" She stopped swinging. "You visit me because I'm family. Daddy's family too. And you said family protects family. Maybe visiting him is how you protect him now." I sat there, outsmarted by an 8-year-old. "You're right," I finally said. "I'll think about it." "You should do, not just think, Grandpa Richard. That's what brave people do. And Daddy said you weren't brave, but he was wrong, wasn't he?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "He was wrong about a lot of things." Marcus's trial was 4 months later. I testified for 2 days, walking the jury through everything: the overheard conversation, the phone calls, Derek Paulson's arrest, the text messages outlining my murder. Marcus's lawyer tried to paint him as a desperate father driven by love for his daughter. The prosecution painted him as a cold-blooded killer motivated by greed. The truth, as usual, was somewhere in between. Vanessa took a plea deal and testified against Marcus. She claimed she never explicitly told him to kill me, just explored his feelings about obstacles in his life. The jury saw through it. She got 8 years. On the last day before sentencing, the judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I stood and looked at my son, really looked at him, for the first time in months. "Your Honor, I don't want to talk about what Marcus tried to do to me. I want to talk about what he did to himself." My voice was steady. "My son threw away his life for $35,000 he didn't even need. He could have asked me for money, not for gambling debts. I wouldn't have enabled that. But for the custody battle? To get his daughter back? I would have refinanced my house, emptied my retirement. Anything." I saw Marcus's face crumple. But he never asked. He assumed I wouldn't care. He assumed I was just an obstacle, like that kid he pushed off the monkey bars when he was 8 years old. And that's on me. I raised a man who solves problems by removing obstacles instead of facing them. So, Your Honor, I ask that you give my son the time he needs to learn a different way. Not for my sake, for Emma's. Because if he ever gets out, he needs to be a better man than his father taught him to be. The courtroom was silent. Marcus was crying. The judge sentenced him to 18 years with possibility of parole in 12. And that was 2 years ago. I'm 68 now. I sold my house and bought a smaller condo closer to where Emma and Jennifer live. Emma visits me twice a month, We go to the zoo, the science museum, the park. We don't talk about Marcus much, but she writes him letters and he writes back. I volunteer now at a center for men going through divorces. I tell them my story, not to scare them, but to show them that 66 is not too old to start over. That being reliable isn't the same as being weak. Gentlemen, I tell them, my son tried to kill me because he saw me as an obstacle. But here's what he didn't understand. Obstacles don't just sit there. Sometimes they fight back, and sometimes they win. Last month, I did something I swore I'd never do. I visited Marcus, year 2 of 18. He looked older. Prison does that. When he saw me through the glass partition, he couldn't speak, just cried. I picked up the phone. Emma wrote an essay for school. He nodded, trying to pull himself together. She wrote about heroes. Guess who she wrote about? You, he whispered. No, you. His face crumpled. Richard, I tried to kill you. She wrote about the day you pleaded guilty, the day you stood in court and took responsibility. She wrote, my dad made a terrible mistake, but he didn't run away from it. He faced it. That's what heroes do. They face the truth even when it hurts. She got an A. We sat in silence. Finally, Marcus said, why are you here? Because Emma asked me to come, and because I realized something. You and I both failed at marriage. We both failed at knowing how to show love. The difference is, I'm getting a second chance to figure it out, to show Emma what family looks like even when it's broken. And maybe you need to see that too. You don't forgive me. No, but Emma loves you, and she deserves a father worth visiting when you get out. So I'm going to come here once a month, and we're going to figure out how you become that man. I don't deserve this. No, but Emma does. Everything from now on is for her. I stood to leave. Marcus pressed his hand against the glass. After a moment, I pressed mine against it from the other side. Dad? His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. I know you are, Marcus. That's why I'm here. My name is Richard Thompson. I'm 68 years old. My son tried to kill me for the price of a lawyer's retainer, and twice a month I visit him in prison. Not the ending I wanted, but it's the ending that makes me proud. Because Emma was right about something important. Brave people don't just survive. They don't just win. They show up. They show up for the people who hurt them. Because sometimes that's what family means. Not pretending the hurt didn't happen, but refusing to let it have the final word. Marcus was wrong about a lot of things. He was wrong about me being weak, wrong about murder being the solution, wrong about obstacles needing to be removed. But he was right about one thing. I did teach him how to be a man. I taught him through my failures and my fears, through my quiet surrenders, and my inability to fight back. Now I'm teaching him something different. I'm teaching him that it's never too late to face the truth, to take responsibility, to become the man your daughter deserves, even if it takes 18 years, even if it happens through prison glass, even if forgiveness never fully comes. That's my story, and I'm still here to tell it.